to the Home Nation RoundTable. Our conversation topic for tonight is
there's one key area of parenting that I'm sure all of us at times may have reflected back and thought maybe if I could have done that again, I might have done it differently. Obviously parenting is something that all of us are constantly learning from, and nobody's perfect. So what would be one area that as a parent, if you could wind back that clock, that you might do slightly differently this time? Can we start off with Desmond this time? Yeah.
Sure. Actually, I'm not quite sure about this question. I was sharing with Corinna just now and Brian that I actually asked the same question to my family. I asked my wife and my two daughters, and if there's one thing that as a daddy can change better, what would it be?
Yes.
So my youngest daughter actually said, stop working or work less and play more.
Wow.
And my wife is saying the same thing.
Wow.
And I asked the youngest one, I just can't be bothered. Go to the room and play. I actually asked for in purpose, intentionally, just to kind of validate whether my thought and the process was consistent. In fact, we went through with the family that we believe in everything, do it ourselves. So my family, my wife actually full-time housewife looking after the girls. I actually work and I realized, the way that I'm working, that I always thought that I can bring back more all the time. But the question is, how much is enough, right? Yeah. And in fact, the family expectation is so simple that not need much, we are still very happy. So that actually, give a lot of thought to me during this question. In fact, for the last 4 months, I've changed the way I work. So if to look back, if this is decisions, I think I would weigh the way that I work. That's where the area that I'd like to change is to spend more time with family. Yeah. In fact, I realized the past 4 months, in fact, I work more effectively because I realized that the more time that I have time to spend on work, I become more effective. So the thought process was faster because I want to get home and spend time with the children. And when I'm home, they are so happy. And when you're in good mood, you are more productive. So that I think would really change, and I think it will come sooner. That will be really great, but it take me a while to come to this.
There's an interesting Parkinson's law says that the work expands to fill the time available to do it. So if we spread our work time longer, it takes us longer to do the work.
Yes.
And that, I think, is a disease of the 21st century, is we can call it Parkinson's law disease, because basically what happens is people think they've got to work longer to earn the money to buy the stuff.
Yes.
So that was a really good point, isn't it? I work more efficiently to get home to be with my kids. I think it's a great solution.
Wow. And you got that lesson from your daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic.
Right on the point and the spot on. They say less work and play more. Exactly, just 2 words. And
so that's what you do differently.
Exactly.
Which you're already doing.
Yes, exactly.
Fantastic. Sandra.
Okay. When I was thinking through this, one thing that I thought of that I did not do so well with my older daughter, but I think I've improved on with the younger ones, was less rescuing of her. And what I was thinking of an easy example was that she would often forget things. It's my first one to go to school, and I would come in and I would race in with all the homework, or the forgotten shoes, or the musical instruments, or whatever it was she'd forgotten.
Yeah.
And to this day, even though she's the oldest and most responsible in a lot of ways, she's still the one that calls me on the phone, "Mommy, I've forgotten, can you bring?" Whereas with the other 4, I learned quite quick, and I didn't offer so much, and I didn't go in. And they're much more independent. If they forget something, they just face it, and they learn from their own mistakes that they've forgotten, and I think that's benefited them. So what we do now is we have 3 mercy missions for the year. So if you have really forgotten something that's really important and you think it's one of the top 3, Mummy will bring it. But if you don't think it's that important, don't call mommy. Just face it. It's a mistake. Yeah, but it's a way for them to learn. If it's really important, I'll be there for them.
Yeah.
But if it's a minor thing, please don't be calling all the time. Learn from your own mistakes. You've forgotten it. Face up to it. Life will go on.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've learned. I think it's important.
To rescue less.
Not to rescue so much. Yeah. I think it breeds dependence, I think.
Yes.
That I did that all the time. So then she can always fall back on that mommy will be there. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Fantastic. And Samia?
Well, in my case, my experience is still less than 2 years. My twins are like about 16 months old. And I think now what I've started doing, and I need to correct it before it gets a bit too much, is that I've started giving in to them, to their demands, to their tantrums when they, if they want something, if it's not good, and if they cry a lot, I would say, okay, you can have it for a little while, and then. But I think I need to stop that before it becomes a habit for them, and they sort of also realize, and I think they're pretty sharp. They've started learning already that yes, they can emotionally blackmail mom by crying out, and So that's one thing I think I should be sort of trying to control, and this is because I know in future if this continues, it can become a serious problem for me. So that's one thing I think I'm doing it wrong, and I need to put it right before it gets too late. For sure.
And they really do know, don't they?
They do. Yes, they do.
They think they go to acting school before they get born.
Yes. But you should draw the line somewhere that this is the limit. You see, that's not probably because I've had them after such a long time. They're my firstborn, so perhaps I'm still sort of being. But I'll have to put that right for sure.
Let me push your buttons. So
Yeah, the two.
learn how it works.
We had our first baby when we were very young, 18 and 19, and he learned very quickly that he could choke. If he could choke, we would rush to him, and so we'd put him in bed, and he would.
Yes, my
And
son's sometimes.
we lived at the time underneath the Karatani nurse, and she said, what you do is you drill a hole in his door and you put one of those eye things in reverse so you can see in and he can't see you. And just watch. And if he's really distressed and upset, you will realise and you can go in. But if he's not, just let him play at that game until he gets tired and falls asleep. And that was the best thing we ever did, because you could watch him. He'd stand there, he'd be happy, and then he'd decide it was time. And so he'd start crying, and and this is like at less than 18 months old. So they learn very, very quickly to push a button.
That's true.
And we do have soft buttons.
Oh, yeah.
Corinna, what about for yourself?
Well, I asked Steffi, my daughter, and she said, well, mommy, spend more time with me. And in her Mother's Day card last year, she put, because when people ask me, how many children do you have? I say 2. Then I say 2. Then I said, first child, Stephanie Tan. Second child, Classic Chang, my company, right? So she wrote in her Mother's Day card, don't spend so much time with Classic Chang. So you learn that, for them, when sometimes you spend too much time with them, they say, Mommy, please go away. But I think she always values time with Mommy. So I decided and said, okay, I will always make sure that I have enough time, and not just quality time, but quantity time. And this is the best time to bond with your child. After that, if they don't want to talk to you, it will be difficult.
Priority of the number 1 child first. Not the company child. Right?
Mine's a much more specific thing. I mean, I can look back and there's thousands of things I would change. But I think the one thing that jumped out at me when I looked at that question was something very simple. When I was young, we never had a television until I was a teenager. And, my children grew up in a very audiovisual age. And so what we did was we put a television in each of their bedrooms so that they could watch TV. I would never do that now. You know, basically, the bedroom is a place for sleeping. And the two things that I've learned in my research since then is, number one, you don't put a TV in the room because the effect of television affects the quality of sleep, and the quality of sleep is the most important thing for a growing child. And secondly, you don't make them do their homework in their room because you need to separate the parts of a child's life, and the bedroom should be a haven of relaxation, of you know, of quiet, and when it's time to sleep, it should be sleep. You know, maybe read a book for a while and go to sleep, relax the mind. Television does the opposite. It stimulates. And you know, sleep deprivation is one of the biggest problems that children have today. Serious sleep deprivation, and the health effects of that and the mental effects of that are phenomenal. So if I could go back, the first thing I would do is to take all of those televisions and junk them, and you know, I think that goes for computers and tablets and iPhones and everything.
Yes.
You know, it should be a relaxation place. The bedroom is the bedroom.
Okay, television in the bedroom. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Thank you.
Parents, thank you for being with us today. Stay tuned for the next episode. This has been a Mind Champs Media production.